Good morning. As the sun gently kisses the horizon, painting the Texas hill country in hues of gold and amber, little did anyone know that this serene dawn would soon be overshadowed by unimaginable chaos. In the heart of Texas hill country, a region celebrated for its rolling hills, clear rivers, and tranquil beauty, life moved at a leisurely pace. The communities here, deeply connected to the land, cherished the peace and quiet that defined their existence. But on one fateful night, that tranquility was shattered as a peaceful night turned catastrophic, the skies darkening ominously, the air thick with an unsettling stillness that preceded the storm. The storm unleashed its fury with unprecedented speed as a flash flood struck without warning, transforming familiar landscapes into raging torrents in what felt like mere moments. Families and vacationers, drawn to the hill country's charm, were caught off guard, their peaceful retreats turning into scenes of desperate escape as the floodwaters relentlessly encroached. The roar of water, a deafening symphony of destruction, shattering the calm, replacing it with a primal fear as the sheer force of the flood became terrifyingly apparent. The rains came down with a ferocity no forecast predicted, a relentless downpour that seemed to defy the very limits of nature's capacity, overwhelming the land and its inhabitants. Gentle creeks and streams, once meandering peacefully through the countryside, were transformed into raging torrents within minutes, their banks overflowing, their waters surging with destructive power. There was no time to prepare, no chance to gather belongings or secure homes, only the desperate urgency to seek higher ground and escape the relentless onslaught of water. No time to escape. The speed and intensity of the flood left many trapped, their homes surrounded by rapidly rising waters, their hopes dwindling with each passing moment. The storm stalled over the Guadalupe River basin, a critical watershed for the region, prolonging the deluge and exacerbating the already dire situation. Unleashing a deluge the land couldn't absorb, the saturated ground unable to contain any more water, leading to widespread flooding that engulfed everything in its path. The first sign was a deep, growing rumble, a terrifying premonition of the disaster to come, a sound that resonated with the raw power of nature unleashed. Then water surged into homes, invading personal spaces, turning sanctuaries into watery prisons, and leaving behind a trail of destruction and despair. Sweeping away everything in its path, the floodwaters carried with them not only debris, but also cherished memories, irreplaceable possessions, and the very foundations of people's lives. Residents along the Guadalupe and Frio rivers, communities intimately connected to these waterways, faced panic and chaos as water rose with breathtaking speed, forcing them to make split-second decisions, their lives hanging in the balance as they desperately sought safety. Cars floated away, once symbols of freedom and mobility, now bobbing helplessly in the raging currents, testament to the flood's overwhelming power. Ancient trees were uprooted, their roots, which had held them steadfast for centuries, no match for the flood's relentless force, their fall a symbol of the devastation wrought upon the landscape. And darkness amplified the terror, turning the familiar world into a disorienting and dangerous landscape, where every shadow held the potential for unseen hazards. Power and cell service failed, plunging communities into darkness and cutting off vital communication lines, leaving residents isolated and vulnerable, leaving people isolated and desperate for rescue, their cries for help echoing in the darkness, their hopes pinned on the arrival of emergency responders. The flood left a scar on Texas, a visible reminder of nature's raw power and the vulnerability of human settlements in the face of such forces. Homes destroyed, lives lost, families torn apart, and communities grappling with the immense task of rebuilding from the ground up. And communities forever changed, their landscapes altered, their sense of security shaken, but their spirit of resilience unbroken. Yet, amid the devastation, in the face of unimaginable loss and destruction, stories of courage emerged, beacons of hope shining through the darkness, tales of ordinary people performing extraordinary acts of bravery, neighbors helping neighbors, offering shelter, food, and comfort to those who had lost everything, demonstrating the true meaning of community. First responders risking everything, braving treacherous conditions to rescue stranded residents, their dedication and selflessness a testament to the human spirit. Communities, though battered, refused to be broken, their determination to rebuild stronger than ever, their spirit of resilience shining brightly in the face of adversity. This disaster is a stark reminder of nature's power, a humbling lesson in the face of forces beyond our control, a call to respect and understand the environment around us. and the need for preparedness, emphasizing the importance of planning, awareness, and proactive measures to mitigate the impact of future disasters. Over the next few moments, we'll delve into the heart of this tragedy. We'll explore what happened, why this devastating flood occurred, examining the meteorological factors and the vulnerabilities that contributed to its impact, and what we must learn to protect ourselves in the future, focusing on practical steps, innovative technologies, and community-based strategies to enhance resilience and minimize the risk of future disasters. The water may have receded, leaving behind a landscape scarred by its passage, but the lessons remain urgent, demanding our attention and inspiring us to take action to safeguard our communities and protect ourselves from future threats. The story is far from over. It's a story of resilience, recovery, and the ongoing commitment to building a safer and more prepared future for all. To truly grasp the sheer scale and magnitude of this disaster, we must first talk about the rivers that became its conduits. These waterways, normally a source of life and tranquility, played a central role in the unfolding catastrophe. The Guadalupe and Frio rivers, iconic Texas waterways, usually tranquil meandering streams reflecting the Texas sky, were transformed into raging forces of destruction almost overnight. The transformation was as swift as it was devastating. Over 22 inches of rain fell in less than 6 hours, an almost unimaginable deluge, a localized but intense rain bomb that overwhelmed the land's capacity to absorb it. The ground simply couldn't cope with such an extreme influx of water. The Guadalupe River crested at an astonishing 45 feet, rising over 30 feet in just 3 hours, a rate of ascent that defied comprehension and left residents scrambling for safety. That's the equivalent of 2 Niagara Falls worth of water thundering through the region's narrow valleys and canyons. The sheer power was unlike anything seen before. Floodwaters spread far beyond the riverbanks, escaping their natural boundaries with terrifying speed and force, submerging entire neighborhoods, beloved summer camps, and countless homes under a thick, muddy blanket. The water showed no mercy. Rescue efforts were severely hampered by the sheer breadth and scale of the disaster. The flood zone was vast, and the conditions were treacherous. Roads and bridges simply vanished, washed away by the relentless current, and entire communities were completely cut off from the outside world, isolated by the raging waters. The flood didn't just damage the landscape, it fundamentally reshaped it, leaving an indelible mark on the region, carving entirely new river channels through the earth and erasing familiar landmarks that had stood for generations. Canyon Lake swelled to unprecedented levels, straining its capacity and pushing its limits, forcing emergency dam releases to prevent the catastrophic failure of the dam and even greater devastation downstream. This extreme weather event has rewritten the record books, shattering previous benchmarks and exceeding all expectations, and set a terrifying new benchmark for the scale and impact of Texas floods, leaving a legacy of destruction and resilience in its wake. Behind the cold, hard numbers, behind the statistics and the reports, lie the stories of real people. People whose lives were irrevocably upended in a matter of hours, their worlds turned upside down by the relentless surge of water. At least 14 souls are confirmed dead, their lives tragically cut short by this devastating event. And the agonizing search continues, with many still missing, families holding on to hope amidst the despair. Each one of those lost, each one still missing, is a parent, a child, a sibling, a friend, a neighbor, a vital thread in the fabric of their community. Families lost not just structures, but homes, the very foundations of their lives swept away. They lost memories, precious photographs, heirlooms passed down through generations, now coated in mud and water. And perhaps most profoundly, they lost their sense of safety overnight, the feeling of security shattered by the unforgiving power of nature. Survivors recall the terrifying roar of the water, a sound that will forever be etched in their memories. They speak of clinging desperately to trees, watching helplessly as their homes, their possessions, everything they held dear, vanished before their eyes. At Camp Mystic, a place of joy and laughter for countless children, dedicated counselors led a heroic midnight evacuation, a testament to their courage and quick thinking. They worked tirelessly, saving hundreds of children from the rising waters, ensuring their safety above all else. But the camp itself was utterly destroyed, a beloved landmark reduced to rubble. The physical damage is immense, but the emotional scars will last long after the mud is cleared and the debris is hauled away. Yet, even in the face of such devastation, hope persists. volunteers like the Cajun Navy arrived, answering the call for help with unwavering dedication. Communities rallied together, organizing donation drives and providing shelter for those displaced. Strangers opened their homes and their hearts, offering comfort and support to those in need. And in the midst of the darkness, resilience shone through, a testament to the strength of the human spirit. These towns are battered and bruised, but they are not broken. The road to recovery will be long and arduous, a marathon, not a sprint. But every act of kindness, every helping hand contributes to the rebuilding process. The human spirit endures, unyielding in its determination to overcome adversity. Even in the face of overwhelming loss, the will to rebuild, to heal, to move forward remains. This is a story of both profound heartbreak, of lives shattered and dreams washed away, and extraordinary heroism, of ordinary people rising to meet extraordinary challenges. The journey to healing and restoration has only just begun, but the seeds of hope have been sown. Maps and satellite images reveal the true scale of destruction. Thin blue rivers became wide, brown scars across the landscape. Floodwaters inundated thousands of acres, erasing roads and landmarks. The National Weather Service called this a 500-year flood, an event once thought nearly impossible. River gauges shattered records, with the Guadalupe cresting far above previous highs. The disaster zone stretched over 70 miles, impacting multiple towns and parks. Emergency services struggled to reach isolated survivors, blocked by washed-out infrastructure. These visuals are more than records. They're warnings for the future. Updated maps and data will guide smarter rebuilding and preparedness. For residents, seeing their neighborhood submerged is a sobering call to action. Why was this flood so severe here? It was a perfect storm of weather and geology. A stalled thunderstorm dumped relentless rain, while the hill country's steep hills and thin soil funneled water rapidly into rivers. The limestone bedrock acted like concrete, forcing water to run off instantly. Flash flooding was inevitable. Streams became torrents in minutes. Narrow valleys concentrated the water, amplifying its speed and power. Decades of riverside development put more people in harm's way. Paved surfaces worsened runoff, leaving little chance for absorption. This disaster is a painful lesson in the risks of building in nature's path. Is this part of a larger pattern? Scientists say yes. A warmer atmosphere holds more moisture, fueling heavier downpours. Historic floods are happening more often, challenging old risk models. Slower, wetter storms like this one are becoming the new normal. Climate change is altering weather patterns, making events like this more likely. Ignoring this reality is no longer an option. We must plan for a future with more extreme weather. Acknowledging the science is the first step toward resilience. Texas isn't alone. Flash flood risk is a national issue. The Appalachian Mountains with steep valleys face similar dangers. The 2022 Kentucky floods showed how quickly communities can be wiped out. In the desert Southwest, hard ground and slot canyons create deadly flash floods during monsoon storms. Burn scars from wildfires in California and Colorado also heighten flood risk, as water races over hydrophobic soil. As wildfires and extreme rain increase, so does the threat nationwide. Understanding these hotspots is key to preparedness everywhere. The danger is real and growing. This tragedy echoes past Texas floods, like Tropical Storm Allison in 2001. Allison dumped 40 inches of rain, flooding Houston and causing over 20 deaths. It exposed vulnerabilities and led to major investments in flood control. Yet rural regions like the Hill Country remain at risk. Each flood is different, but the core problem is the same: too much rain, too fast. There's no one-size-fits-all solution for a state as diverse as Texas. Past disasters should drive ongoing vigilance and adaptation. The lessons of history must guide our future preparedness. As recovery begins, the question is, what now? We must all become more weather aware, know the warnings, have a plan, and respect the power of water. Communities need honest conversations about development in flood-prone areas. Stronger building codes, better flood monitoring, and smarter land use are essential. Infrastructure must be updated for a changing climate with flood maps based on future risks. This tragedy must be a catalyst for change, not just sorrow. We owe it to the victims to build smarter and prepare better. The path forward requires courage and commitment. Let's turn grief into action and create